I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me. Yeah, wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another.
Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is a Thursday, so I'm going to talk NASCAR today because Darlington Throwback Weekend starts tomorrow night, and it goes all weekend long. Of course, tomorrow night will be the truck race. Saturday afternoon will be the Xfinity race, and Sunday afternoon will be the Cup race. And I've always enjoyed the Darlington Speedway, and now I enjoy it even more because of the Throwback Weekend. But I wish everybody would participate and put forth as much effort as some teams do. Some teams amongst all three series have some great throwback cars, and some teams look like they just were as lazy as they could be, and they're trying to claim they've got a throwback car when in reality they don't. Now, of course, you can always go to NASCAR.com to look at every single throwback car amongst all three series, but today I'm not going to talk about every single throwback car amongst all three series. I'm just going to talk about some of the ones that are some of my favorites. And we'll kick it off with Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez because they're teammates. So one drives the one car, one drives the 99 car. They're both driving Coca-Cola cars, and it's a throwback to 1998 when Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. both drove Coca-Cola cars. So that's what their throwback is for. And then Austin Cindric and Corey LaJoie and Chase Elliott, I won't say much about. I'll just say I like the throwback cars. I'm not a fan of any of those drivers, but those three throwback cars look really cool. And then we have Kyle Busch. He's doing a throwback to 1998, just like Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez. And the reason why he's doing it is because, of course, M&M's has announced that this is their final year in the Cup Series. 25th season that M&M's has been in NASCAR, and 1998 was the debut season, so Kyle Busch is going to have a race car that looks like the 1998 M&M's race car. And then I mentioned this the other day in my NASCAR review. Harrison Burton, of course, he is the son of Jeff Burton. He has a different sponsor than his daddy had, but if you look at the car, it looks just like the X-Side car that Jeff Burton drove for years. You better go ahead and look at it now because more than likely, unless something strange happens, come Sunday, by lap 50, you'll forget that Harrison's out there because he's not ready. And then we have Joey Logano, just like Austin Cindric, Corey LaJoie, and Chase Elliott. I just like that paint scheme and like that design. And then we have Kurt Busch, who, of course, is driving the 45 car this year. His car is going to be sponsored by McDonald's this Sunday, and it looks exactly like the Jamie McMurray McDonald's car that Jamie McMurray drove for a long time in NASCAR. And then we'll step down to the Xfinity series, talk about a couple of those. First, we'll talk about Justin Oligar. Of course, he drives the number 7 car for DEI Motorsports, which of course is Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, owned by Dale Jr. And he has Hellman's on his car this upcoming Saturday, and it looks just like the Hellman's car that Dale Jr. drove for a few years, a long time ago. And then we have Jeremy Clements, who is, by the way, a local guy. If you live in the South, he's from Spartanburg, South Carolina. He has the Spartan Waste sponsorship, but his car looks exactly like the Wrangler car that Dale Earnhardt drove many, many, many years ago before Dale Earnhardt got into the 3 car. So a lot of these cars, of course, they're sponsored by different companies, but the design of the car is what you're looking at, not the sponsor on the side of the car. And then we have Joe Gibbs' grandson, Ty Gibbs. He's going to be driving the Interstate Batteries car that was in the Cup Series for years amongst several different drivers. And then we'll talk about a few in the Truck Series. First, we've got Hayley Deegan. Her truck is going to look like the car that Bobby Allison drove many, many, many years ago. And then Danny Bone has a different sponsor again, but his car looks exactly like the Mountain Dew car that was in NASCAR about 30 years ago. And of course, we know there's nothing like a good old Mountain Dew, just like the song says. So even though it is a different sponsor, when you see it, it will remind you of the Mountain Dew car that was in NASCAR in the early 90s. And then we have Lawless Allen, who is driving a truck that looks just like the DuPont car that Jeff Gordon drove in the Cup Series when he first started for many, many years. And then last but not least, we'll talk about Chase Purdy, also in the Truck Series. His truck looks exactly like the car that Darrell Waltrip drove in the Cup Series back in the 80s. So these are all just some of the paint schemes that I like amongst the Darlington Throwback paint schemes coming up this weekend. Like I said, it all starts tomorrow night when the Camping World Truck Series race gets underway, and it continues Saturday afternoon in the Xfinity Series, and then finishes up on Sunday afternoon in the Cup Series. And I'm a long-time NASCAR fan, so seeing some of these paint schemes, especially like Excite and Interstate Batteries, I think about Jeff Burton and Bobby Labonte, because when I first got into NASCAR, those two guys were in their prime, and they were running up front virtually every week. So even though Harrison Burton has a different sponsor, his car looks exactly like the Excite car his daddy drove. And of course, Interstate Batteries is still Interstate Batteries. It's no longer a full-time sponsor. But when you see it, you will think about the Cup Series, because you had several drivers that drove the Interstate Batteries car over the years. But Bobby Labonte is the one that probably is most remembered for driving the Interstate Batteries car. But there were several other drivers that were sponsored by Interstate Batteries over the years. If you're a NASCAR fan, have any thoughts on this, please feel free to let me know. Now, we know yesterday was Wednesday, May the 4th. Now, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I say that because since it was May the 4th, all day long yesterday, people were saying, "May the 4th be with you." So I figured that since yesterday was Star Wars Day, and we just got done talking about NASCAR, today's dad joke of the day would be about cars and Star Wars. What kind of car does a Jedi drive? A toy Yoda. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.